So I'm Isabelle COSAR, and I'm here at HUSTEF for the first time in Budapest as well. And let me get my clicker. Today I'll be talking to you about front-end performance testing, not to be confused with load volume performance testing. We're talking about client-side front-end, and also the Google Core Web Vitals. So I'll be talking to you, introducing myself first, my company. Then I'll be talking to you about the Core Web Vitals, what they are, why they are so important. And then I will explain how we engage and mobilized our service team with the Core Web Vitals. And I will finish with a more practical example where I will be talking to you about a Core Web Vitals bug that we had in production. So let's start with myself. So I'm French, and I live in London. I've been in quality engineering for over 25 years. I've mostly worked in non-functional testing, so that means performance testing, operability testing, and in financial services. That also explains why I'm so passionate about performance testing. So I've been in my current company called John Lewis Partnership for 4 years, and 3 years ago I moved into delivery in one of our service team. I'm also there one of the leads for our quality engineering community of interest and a front-end performance testing champion. So about my company. So John Lewis is one of the largest British retailers. We have two brands. We have John Lewis for the department stores, and we have Waitrose for the grocery stores. So I work on the John Lewis digital platform, e-commerce website. And our John Lewis website is hosted on the Google Cloud platform with a microservice-based architecture and a DevOps operating model. So that means we use automated CI/CD pipelines to build, to test, to deploy, to monitor, to do incident management. So to give you an idea, last year, just on the John Lewis website, we deployed over 12,000 changes with a low failure rate of under 0.4%. We have over 40 different service teams managing over 500 different microservices. So I work as a quality engineer in one of those service teams. We call ourselves product engineers, so we're trying to T-shape. So I don't just do quality engineer. So my team is responsible on the website for the technology behind the homepage and behind content management. So now on to the Google Core Web Vitals. So what are they? So they are a set of 3 important metrics that assess how quickly and smoothly a website loads and functions for its users. They basically are a measure of user experience. They've been defined by Google, and everyone can check their web pages, Google Core Web Vitals, on the internet. They are part of Google's effort to make the web a better place for its users. They are a subset of the Web Vitals, and they have become today a reference for measuring web performance, front-end web performance in most of the e-commerce websites, like ours at John Lewis. So the first Core Web Vital, LCP, largest contentful paint, is a measure of loading speed, and it's calculated by measuring the loading time of the biggest image or the biggest text block on a page. Then we have FID, which is first input delay, and that's a measure of interactivity. And it's calculated by measuring how long it takes for a page to respond to a user input, like a click or a scroll down. And it's measuring only that first interaction. Then we have the CLS, which is cumulative layout shift. And this one is a measure of visual stability. It is how much a web page content moves or shifts around as it loads, which can be pretty annoying when it happens for end users. So those core web vitals, they evolve. So next year in March, we're going to have a replacement for FID, and it's going to be called INP, Interaction to Next Paint, and it measures interactivity in a slightly different way. If you want to find out more about the core web vitals, about the web vitals, you have some URLs there, and there are the URLs for the Google developers website. So, why are they so important, the core web vitals? What are the benefits of using the core web vitals? So first of all, we have improved user experience. So when, I mean, you can feel that yourself when you browse the internet. So when a web page is quick to load, is visually stable, and is fast to interact with, then you feel more engaged. And also, I suppose, you feel happier, and you might stay longer on that website. And that's the same for consumers, which means that in turn it leads to lower bounce rates and higher conversion rates. Then we have the second benefit, which is improved SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization. And when you have good core web vitals, good performance, well, you end up having a better ranking in Google search. And that is very, very key, because it means you will get higher traffic, higher revenue for those pages and for your website. The third benefit is improved brand reputation. So a website with, again, good performance, good core web vitals will look more professional, more trustworthy. That means that you will get an improved brand reputation and improved customer loyalty. And the last one, standardized metrics. So standardized metrics, they help website owners to measure the performance on their website, to measure their website's performance against other websites, and they also help them to identify the areas of improvement for the client-side performance of their website. So all those reasons are why we focus so much on those core web vitals at John Lewis. Now, as I said, we have lots of service teams. So probably half of the 40 service teams are front-end teams. And how did the front-end teams get engaged with core web vitals? That's the big question. I'm going to explain to you a bit about that. So at John Lewis, we have a platform team, centralized platform team, responsible for the stability, the resilience, and the performance of our website. And they decided to make the core web vitals a priority. And they designed an approach to that effect. And the approach, the idea behind that approach was that teams didn't feel that the core web vitals were imposed onto them, that they could really understand the importance of the core web vitals, and that they were motivated in scoring high in core web vitals, and lastly, that they were provided good tooling to monitor and to test the core web vitals. And the approach was implemented around 3 key areas. The first one was communication. So there was a big communication, obviously, campaign at the beginning done by the platform team. And it was about explaining the importance of the core web vitals, how to monitor those, how to test those. And that was done through using different forums, like community of interest forums for front-end devs, for quality engineering, using town halls, all-hands meetings, and then tools like Slack. We use Slack, and also centralized dashboards. So I also played a role in that communication. So I played back quite a lot of that communication to my community of interest, the quality engineering one. I also demonstrated to my community of interest various tools that could be used, not just the one provided by the platform team, and you will see some examples around the tools that you can use. I've paired with a lot of product engineers. I'm still pairing with them around the core Web Vitals, explaining how to measure them, how to monitor them. So the second part was about challenging. So at the beginning of the campaign, basically the platform team put together a dashboard called the leaderboard, Lighthouse Leaderboard Dashboard. And it was accessible to all in using our centralized visualization tool called Grafana. And you can see each team's core Web Vitals scores. At the top, each little dial is a service team. And that's how it looked like at the beginning. So now it's a lot greener, but it really helped with challenging teams. And the idea was that it was appealing to the sense of competition of our service teams and to do well. And then we had tooling. So the platform team customized existing open source software for the service team to use for testing and for monitoring the core Web Vitals. So the idea was the tools were easy to implement, and they were, and that they were integrated with our central visualization tool Grafana, and also with Slack for alerting. So what were the key challenges faced? So the first one was to get traction quickly with the core Web Vitals. So the platform team decided to focus solely on product engineers, so quality engineers and devs, in order to get traction quickly, and then to look at focusing on the product managers, product owners, delivery lead, the other communities later on, and that revealed to be a good choice. The second part was about making sure that teams were involved in a continuous way, not just at the beginning with the big buzz around leaderboard, communication, new tooling. And the way they did that is by running checks on the service team's core Web Vitals, and to gently prod those teams whenever they would see a regression in the core Web Vitals scorings or when they would see an issue. And that was actually very well received. I got quite a few of those proddings as well in my team, still getting them, but it's useful and it helps us keeping focus on the core Web Vitals. And the last challenge was tools. So they started with implementing a tool called SiteSpeed, and then they had to move to a different tool over time called Web Page Test, which is the one we use at the moment. And this one is actually more accurate. It's also much better integrated with our systems and our ways of working, and it's much more customizable. So those were the key challenges. So all of that paid off. So we also have our own UK competitors website leaderboard dashboard, and where we compare our core Web Vitals against 125 UK competitors. And as of today, on that leaderboard, we rank in position 19 on mobile and 12 on desktop. And to give you an idea, Amazon UK is ranking position 12 for mobile, so better than us, but position 47 on desktop. So there's still work to do. We are still working on those core Web Vitals. There's a new one coming up in March. So yes, it never stops, basically. And that new one is the one I mentioned earlier, INP, Interaction to Next Paint. So now I'm going to move on to the real-life example. So I choose a bug that we found in production for that example, and it's a bug to do with the CLS, the cumulative layout shift. And that's a bug that we detected, or an issue we detected on our homepage, so that's quite important. And I will explain the process around detecting it, fixing it, and retesting it. And that's the homepage, as you know, is managed by my service team. So that was the homepage at the time. So on the left, you can see at the top of the homepage, you have a big image that's called the hero. And we used there, we decided to ask our content editors to use an old component that we had called the hotspot component. And that component is an image where you have little hotspots, and if you hover on the little cross or you tap with your finger on that cross, then you have the product name and the price, and then you can tap again or click again, and you get to the product display page for that product. So So that's how it looked like, basically, the home page. And also I have to say that the component, I said it's an old component, the hotspot component, and we had designed it, developed it before we had that focus on the core web vitals. So what happened after that hero part of the homepage got changed? Then we got an alert in our Slack channel. And the alert basically was mentioning that we had a huge increase in the CLS. As you can see, more than 1,500% increase on the score of 0.3. A good score on CLS is under 0.1. And just a reminder, again, CLS is a measure of the visual stability of a page, just as a reminder. So what happened? After I saw this in our Slack channel, I went to check in our tool, the web page test tool, and I could see on the specific part of the dashboard around CLS that it had effectively gone up from 0 to 0.3. Next thing is I checked in another part of that web page test tool, and I could see also that score being confirmed. So, okay, I could definitely prove that there was an issue. The information that we got in the Slack channel, the alerting was right. So next thing is I decided to do some manual checks because the CLS is something that is visually noticeable. And in order to do that, and I went into my browser, went into the DevTools, applied network throttling in order to slow down the loading of the page, and I could see very easily at 47% loading of the page, you can see that at the top that we have those offer buttons, the thing that says spring saving. And then at 100%, then the hotspot component, the hero, appears, and everything gets shifted down. So those offer buttons, the spring savings, get shifted down. So there's a visual shift that is very, very noticeable that was happening in that page. And that's why we got that terrible CLS score. And just also another note, that CLS measure is a lab metric. It also means that in whichever machine you measure it, whether it's fast, slow, whether you have fast or slow connection, that score that you will get on the CLS is always the same. So I also could check using another tool. Everyone has got the dev tools in their Chrome browsers, and you can check in Lighthouse. And here I could see in my own browser that score, that 0.3 score, not just in our centralized web page test tool. Then by filtering on inside the Lighthouse tool on the CLS filter, then I could basically, it was showing me the elements in the page which have shifted the most, and that pointed to the hero being responsible for the shift. So next, I went to talk to my team about it, explain what happened. I raised a Jira bug ticket. And then we realized that the cause of the problem was that the component was not passing its dimensions, its aspect ratio, to the browser. So no allocation of space was made by the browser for that hero, for that component, while loading the page, because it didn't know what the size of that component. So I went to speak to content editors, asked them, let's do a quick fix. Please put the normal image component in place of that hotspot component. I know that the normal image component is passing its aspect ratio, its dimensions to the browsers. They did that. I could confirm in our production site that the CLS had moved back to 0, almost 0. And then I started preparing testing while in my team's developers were fixing the issue. So I recreated the page, a similar page. I mean, the offer buttons look a bit different, but I created that page in our test environment. You can see at 47% loading had the same issue. You have the offer buttons at the top, and then everything's shifted down, and you get the hotspot, the hero component appearing at the top. I could confirm in the test environment with the web page tool that when I pushed my page into the test environment. The CLS shot up to here 0.6 because I use a much bigger hotspot component. And then the team deployed a fix in the test environment, and it went back to 0, as you can see here. And then I just reloaded my page with network throttling slowly. Oh, I'm at 0. I didn't hear the gong of shame. I'm surprised. Normally we get the gong of shame when the timer is up. So I'm almost done. So I reloaded the page, and there's something different happening here. There's a white space that's been reserved for that hero. And we deployed the fix in production, and success. There is a white space. So basically, the page is loading, automatically reserving that space at the top of the page. There's no visual shift. And then the hero appears. That happens very quickly. Normally, you don't see it. But if something shifts, you see it. And then I could confirm using another, so I give you a few examples of different tools. This is an extension, a Chrome extension tool that I used that also confirmed that that the CLS was back to 0. And that's in production, I checked. And then I could confirm in that web page tool that I mentioned, back to 0. So here we go, success. That was the story about that bug. So well, thank you for listening first. I hope you found it interesting. And yeah.
We have no gong of shame in this session, so you don't have to panic. Just we have less time for questions. This is the sacrifice. Okay, first question. Can we measure publicly not available web pages with CWV, like a back office page dealing with user management, metrics, and statistic collection?
So your pages, your production pages, you can go to a place called Site Speed, Page Speed Insight, and you just put the URL of your page, and you'll get your Core Web Vital score. So yes, you can measure any page that's in production. If you want to measure your Core Web Vital score internally, it's different.
Okay. What would be your personal approach on speeding up web pages processes?
So there's a lot of things that you will see when you use, for instance, the Lighthouse tool in the DevTools, and you will see you will get a list of areas of improvement to speed up your page loading. There's a lot of blocking process. Basically, you have all the pages trackers. They would tend to slow down your page. Depends how they loaded. We don't have full control on how the pages are loading because components are used by content editors and they put the way they want on pages. So we try to optimize at component level. But for you guys, if you have full control of your page, you can have full control of your loading times.
That's cool. We have time for 2 more. Was there any challenges or obstacles while implementing CWV for your projects?
So the obstacles was, I suppose it was anticipated in a way. So, and it was more for teams to really understand, but there was a good communication campaigns, and as I explained, I replayed that back, and basically whenever anyone, even as of today, needs some information, they come to different people like me and they ask me, like, can we pair together? Can you show me how we detect them, how we test them, how we monitor them, what they mean?
And last but not least, who is the #1 in desktop and mobile, and what do you think you lack compared to them? Also, what can you do to have a higher ranking?
So, yeah, it's funny. My team asked me that the other day because I did rehearse with them, and so we went to that leaderboard dashboard, and there was I can't even remember the name of that company. I never heard of them. And they were #1. And so we had a look at their website. And it was a very, basically there wasn't much happening in their pages. It was actually looking pretty good. There's a few things that we had to look and say, okay, that's the way they do their page and this, and that could be the reason why it's quicker, why they don't have that shift, why it's more interactive. But I think the main reason is they had less stuff on their page, and that's probably a good conclusion to make sure you don't have too much content as well, and just essential content.